in my own journey, I've come across this. I've made a I've noticed this where it's like either this is an opportunity or a distraction. Um, and that's what's in line with your purpose, you know. And eventually will lead to success, right? So yeah, I'm kind of curious. Do you have a process for identifying, hey, this is not really in line with my purpose. This is not going to lead me to success. This is a good opportunity, but it's just not for me. Have you experienced that? And do you have a process for identifying those things?
That's a great question. I think the more you do it, also the more you fail, the better you become at it, at pointing the distractions and the shining objects don't always have to be bad, right? Sometimes shining objects can turn out to be great things, great opportunities. Um, but I think the more also the older you become, doesn't always mean you become wiser. But I truly believe that the older we become, the more, if we're reflected, and if we're um, going through life also being self-aware, then we can point these things out and find out what what is a distraction and what is really for me, you know. I'm actually going through this process right now because I have a project that was brought to me, and you know, I have a close friend of mine who is also one of my mentors, and he's like, "Man, this is it. You have to go after this. You have to. That's a huge opportunity." And I'm like, okay, no, couple of things. I do have a lot of respect for him, and I appreciate him giving me the advice. But hey, what I see, no one else can see, right? No one else can see in here and listen to the thoughts and the visions that I have. Okay. So therefore, no one else can decide for me, which is obvious. But also based on the things that I see and based on the experience that I have had in the past, but also knowing myself and knowing where I'm good at and where I'm not really good at, putting all these things and then finding out based on everything that I have here what decision I'm going to make. I think that's what we should do. Or in my case, that's what I'm trying to figure out. And also looking at the things that I have done up to this point, and because there is, if we can really truly focus and see, because there is always a silver lining going through life, right? And if we can truly look at this, then we will find out what is really for us and what we should let go of.
So it's really a process of trying and failing and recognize, and then you slowly start to recognize it just on it.
I would say so, and the process never ends.
Yeah. A, a lot of the past clients that I've had and people that are really cool people I've worked with, they've said this, they've said that the more successful they get and bigger they get, the better, the better opportunities come their way.
Mm,
And then the better the opportunities, the harder it is to say no, but they have to
mm,
say no. And then one of the things is that they always say they have to protect their no or something like that, or it's a good opportunity, but maybe it's just not for you, not for you now.
mhm.
And so yeah, it is good to hear that it is just a process, honestly.
Absolutely. And you know what I have experienced in my own life is I became a father for the second time just 2.5 weeks ago. And I was like, hey, okay, now we have a second child. I have businesses going on. I have family life. I like to take care after my health. I like to work out. So all these things, now I really have to be dialed in when it comes to time management, right? Because I have less and less time and more responsibilities. So I have to say no to a lot of things in order to be committed and dedicated to the things that are truly important for me. So that's something I'm experiencing recently.
Um, this is kind of more of just a personal question, and I don't want to steal this whole thing here, Dalton.
Mhm.
Go ahead and have something lined up, whatever. Um, but whenever you're working on your businesses, do you have multiple going on, or do you have one or two you're really just focusing on?
Yeah. So the way it was, it, it I truly believe, at least in my own life, it comes in phases. You know, there was a phase where I had few things going on, and then there was a phase where I was really focused on dialed in, and then there was a phase where I was completely distracted and all over the place and working on 10 different things, which at the end oftentimes turns out to be a lot of distractions. Usually is 80% distractions and 20% is really what you get to a point where you can say, okay, I'm now seeing the results. Um, yeah, so I'm not sure if does that answer your question?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'd say like, yeah, 80% is probably a good number. Maybe it's just part of just, trying different things, you know. You have to have a lot of things going to see which one sticks first, right? And
Exactly.
then you can dial in.
And I also believe that, sometimes we have, again, it comes because it comes in phases. Sometimes we have to do things for the sake of making money, paying the bills. Maybe also doing things in order to fuel the engine, which we believe, okay, this is my legacy, but I need cash for this business to get it off the ground. Um, So yeah, I don't believe that we have to be passionate about anything and everything we do in life for business. Sometimes it's just for, hey, I need the cash flow. Let's do it. If it's morally aligned with who I am and what I believe in, then it makes sense number wise, financially. Then yeah, let's do it. And of course, if that's something that I can do and I have the skills.
What would you say to some people that, it's like maybe they're in their 9 to 5, or regardless what area they're in their life, it doesn't have to be work. But what would you say is a good encourager to people that, are just they're they're not an entrepreneur right now. They don't have a goal set. They don't have like really a view or a vision. Like, what would you say to someone to help them to start to get a vision, or I guess what caused you to start to question a lot of the things that you question, and to move forward?
For me, yeah, man, that's a tough question because what is for me might not be for 99% of other people. Again, we're individuals, right? What is for
Right.
you, what is your main driver might not be and probably is not my main driver, right? So, what I would encourage people to do is truly, truly, truly listen to themselves and find out if they are tricking themselves or if they're being honest to themselves. Okay? What do I mean by that? If somebody would say, "Oh, I want to become an entrepreneur," and I have experienced that a few times in my life where where I met people that were like, yeah, let's do this and let's do that, and then eventually they come back and they're like, no man, it's not for me. I need this certainty, if that's which I truly believe it's not certain, but hey, I need to go do this. I'm like, I didn't say that to them, but I'm telling you guys, you just waste my time, you just waste my precious time and also your time, right? So, but again, I don't judge them because the only way, in my opinion, to find something out is by doing it. You know, of course, you have to see and calculate the risk, but at some point you have to jump off the cliff, because if you never jump and always look and calculate and go left and right and want to find out when is the right timing, no, there is no perfect or right timing. You just have to do it in order to find out. um, so listen to yourself. If that's truly what you want to do, then I don't you feel it. You literally feel it in your gut if that's what you want to do. And if it is what you want to do, then do it, because sooner or later you will have to do it in order to find out how it feels like when you jump off the cliff, right? So in my opinion, do it better sooner than later, because the sooner you do it, the sooner, or if in case you fail, if it's a success, then it's a success. Hey, well done. But if you fail, then you have time to go back and do it different, do it better, do it, in a way that now you have learned what might be the right way. So I encourage people to do it, to find out if that's truly what they want, and then just jump off the cliff.
If I could summarize it up, you self-examine yourself, self-examination, and then trial and error, and then I guess before trial and error comes, you just got to decide to jump. You got to decide to throw yourself into it.
Exactly, because you can calculate and analyze, but hey, you will never find out what real life is before experiencing it.
Right. Right. And I mean, I guess what is the worst that could happen, right?
Right. Right. The worst that could happen is you end up where you were before. Now, people are like, I get it. I've been there myself. People are like, yeah, but you lose time and you lose money, um, probably you lose money. But hey, here's the thing. You can never lose something without gaining something else. It's a yin yang, right? You have to, when you lose something, you always gain something else. Okay? So if you lose money, then you gain experience. If you lose time, again, you learn either a skill or you experience something. So it's the way you look at it. If you're like, people are like, oh, I lost this, I lost it. Yeah, but what did you gain?
True, true. And like maybe you lose time and money, but you gained lessons learned, experience. I do want to pivot this a little bit because this is a question that it's a little bit outside of success and purpose. But so you have a podcast, the Immigrant Entrepreneurs Podcast. Um, what is something that you consider when you're just trying to build out your network and meet all these people, all these entrepreneurs, all these successful people? How do you start those meaningful connections with them and get them on your show and just like really connect with them, build out your network?
Mhm. I believe it comes to who we are and who we truly are. Am I being truly who I am, or am I trying to copy someone else? Because we are all unique individuals, and we have all talents, and we have all skills and also weaknesses, right? Now, when I connect with other people, I just do it by being who I am, by being honestly the person I am, and sharing. I think that's something that is really valued, in in today's society, and that people forget about it. Hey, just be, and with all the social media and the things that we get to see and experience, people just want to copy one another. You know, everybody becomes wants to, or most people want to become, that are somehow on YouTube, want to copy those that are successful. But hey, what if you would come up with your own style? What if you would come up with your own angle that you give to whatever you're doing? That makes you really successful, you know? That makes you also unique because there are other people, enough people that can relate to who you are. And by copying other people, you just become usually become a bad version of them, because you can't copy someone and become become a better version of who you copied. So for me, it's just being genuinely myself, and then connecting with people. And hey, I'm not able to connect with everyone and anyone, and thank God I am not, you know. um and also, if someone I connect with someone, and I'm like, hey, that doesn't feel right, I just let it go. I still will be respectful to them, but I also will tell them in a respectful way that, hey, it's not a match, you know. Let just both of us move on, and connect with someone where we both have some kind of alignment.
Okay. So being yourself and not being afraid to say no and protect your time. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Being yourself, and also sometimes being bold, and sharing your story and who you are and what you believe in and what you do not believe in.
Yeah. I like what you had just talked about this where people imitate, um, and try to become like someone else. In my past experience, when you're first starting out, you kind of almost have to. But one thing that I tell people is like, find five people, that you look up to and where you'd want to be, and then pull different elements from each of those five and mix and add your own thing in, and then eventually you become extremely unique just off of that, you know. But yeah, definitely looking up to other people, but also making sure it's more of research rather than just stealing an identity, right?
Exactly. And I also believe that's something that comes with self-confidence, because the more self-confident you are, the more you can truly be yourself. You know, as you said, when we start out, then it's like, and hey, we're all human. Am I being good enough? Am i am i do I belong to whatever I'm trying to tap into? When I got started with my podcast, I was like, do people want to listen to someone who doesn't even speak English like he should? And then I figured out, man, come on, there are there are hundreds of millions of other people that do not English is not their first language, so they can obviously relate to me. Okay, there are so many people that have moved from one country to another and have started businesses or have had businesses that they brought into this new country, and they're facing challenges, so they can relate to me. Okay, and if we genuinely find out what it is that we are here to do, and we then do not do it, then we are doing a disservice to people who deserve our support and our help. You know, that's when I'm where I'm talking about, and I say it's not about us. And when we find out what and how we can impact other lives, and we don't do it, then I genuinely believe that we're doing a disservice to the community.
So it become almost whenever you identify that problem and you have the ability to solve it, it becomes your responsibility to solve it.
100%. It's like someone has had an accident. You're the only one, or you're one of the few that can help, and you're just walking by and ignoring them. How does that make you feel?
That's actually a really good comparison. Maybe a little more extreme, but a
It
very good
is definitely
comparison.
more extreme, but hey, our if I give you an example that is not extreme, then our brains is not gonna remember it, right? We can always we can oftentimes relate and remember things that are extreme. So that's the reason I made an extreme example.
I think a really good illustration of that is because sometimes it doesn't have to be as extreme as that, or appear to be as extreme as that, to still be extreme. I think it was Jordan Peterson. He says very rare that a man just gets one line of a motivational quote or
Mm,
some type of motivation. And so when you go through and you're just focused on what you're doing and you don't
mhm,
ever focus on anybody else, we forget to encourage each other. And I think sometimes just a little bit of encouragement goes a huge, far way. And we don't really look at it that way. We don't think about it that way because maybe we're not wired that way or we just haven't seen it yet. But it can make a huge difference in somebody else's life. So even though it may seem like, well, I just said this one thing, it might have changed somebody's world for for the better for the rest of their life. And so I know with me that's been my experience. Some people have just
mhm,
said like 1 to 2 liners and I remembered them to this day.
mhm,
And they changed the way that I looked at the world a
mhm.
little bit. And so
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I truly believe that we have to pay forward whatever we get support from or whatever help we get in this world. We It's our duty to pay it forward, because oftentimes we end up thinking, oh, I'm self-made, I made it here on my own. No, that's not the case. That's actually never the case. If you're just a little bit self-aware and you look back on your life, then you will find out that everything and anything that happened in your life, even maybe immediately you thought you were doing it alone, but there was always someone, or maybe even more than someone, who somehow supported you in what you were doing and guided you, helped you, whatever we call it. And this is our duty to pay it forward.
It's our duty to pay it forward.
yeah, so last question, and I know you hit some of these in there, but and maybe you have one, maybe you don't, but what are some of the starter steps um, to get myself on the road to becoming an entrepreneur? What does that mindset look like? Is there a particular way that when you wake up you go, okay, this is what my focus has to be throughout the day. I have to keep bringing myself back to this so that this is what I can do.
hmm Okay. Here's the thing, and it's probably not the answer to your question, but I think it's something that is going to be very valuable. Oftentimes we get from these gurus to hear, "Hey, expect hardship because it's going to be there," but no one is going to tell you how to get over the hardship and overcome the obstacles and everything. How to go, how to surpass this. So here's what I truly believe and what I have experienced. Go do whatever you find or you think that's what you need to do, and do it as often, regardless if you fail, how many times you fail. Get up and move on. But here's the thing, eventually, sooner or later, as we all know, you will face challenges. And once we're in there, we think that's the end of the world. But it's not. And it's going to go by, and you will survive, usually most of the time, almost every time you will survive. And then once you're at the other side on the tunnel, you'll find out that it didn't kill you, it just made you stronger. It was just meant to teach you something, to give you a lesson, either in life or in business, and it made you who you became. That's also why we hear these gurus say, "Oh, you have to become the person in order to deserve this." No, nobody gives a damn if you deserve something or not, right? The universe doesn't, in my opinion, the universe doesn't care if we deserve something or not. That's why bad people are successful or financially successful, and good people are broke. Okay? So, but what I'm trying here to say, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but what I'm trying to say here is, if you get to this situation that looks hopeless, it looks like, or it feels like the world is going to fall apart, it's not the end of the world. You just keep pushing through. And if your why is big enough, you will get out on the other side, eventually finding out that this was meant to get you to where you are.
Love
Yeah,
that.
you didn't
That's
ramble at all,
golden.
man. That was good.
You didn't ramble.
Let's point people in your direction, right? I'll link up your Instagram, podcast, Instagram, YouTube, all that, tag it and all that.
Thank you.
What's the best place to reach out to you?
My cell phone, man. Put my number in there, people. No, I'm joking. There is actually a guy, quite famous guy. I don't remember who it was, but he gives like his cell phone away, his number away, his personal cell phone away. But here's the thing: I'm not sure if it's like his assistant's number or if it's own number. But he's like, "Hey, this is my number. Just call me if you." And I'm gonna be the one who's gonna pick up. I was like, "Okay, that's a bold move." So yeah, man, that's the best way, Instagram and YouTube, and yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Ollie. It's
Absolutely.
freaking love talking about this
Yeah,
stuff.
it was a pleasure being here, and yeah, man, if there is anything I can do for you guys, please let me know. Always happy to pay it forward.